Hello. I hope this is working. I hope you guys can hear me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am at home right now. I'm not in Los Angeles, so I figured let's go live. Let's talk Horror Nights. I did go to Horror Nights for the first time on Thursday, and I am so excited to share with you that whole video. I filmed so much. I filmed, I think, every house that I went in has some form of video, whether it's a POV of me or looking out where you can see what I saw, or me going through with a friend and me focusing on that friend. So I just figured right now I kind of want to go through what it's like to go to Horror Nights, what it's like for a scaredy cat like me, a self-proclaimed scaredy cat, to go through Horror Nights, and just what that experience is like. I'll first just say I was very scared to go to Horror Nights. This is something that terrified me for a very long time. I've had a pass for maybe 7 years and I have not gone once. And there's a reason for that. I think the marketing and the name itself and the houses and everything, it makes it seem like this is the scariest thing in the world and that you cannot do this unless you absolutely love horror. I do not think that is the case. At least it wasn't for me. I was enjoying myself. I was having a great time. I was smiling. I was laughing. I was just, everything was great. So, that being said, let me kind of walk you through my day a little bit. So I started out, before I even got in the park, I saw the Universal Universe is the name of this store. It just opened and it's a beautiful store. Inside, they have really cool new merchandise that you haven't seen in any store at Universal before. They have sweatshirts and t-shirts, and it's themed to Universal properties and Illumination properties. And even here, Felix the cat, I didn't even know that that was Universal, that the license for that was still available. But look at how cool this merch is. This is a Jurassic Park shirt, and it looks like really nothing I've seen before at a theme park. It almost looks like high fashion, and we're getting it at a Universal store. Oh, I guess I didn't frame this one right. Oops. Uh, Here's another shirt inside. I guess there was one photo that I thought was uploaded, but I guess was not. Oh well. But that was my look inside City Walk. I did peek inside the Universal Tribute store, but I wanted all of the merch that I purchased to be after the fact. So I do see a comment down below. By the way, feel free to comment and ask me questions about Horror Nights as I'm going through it, and I'd be happy to display them and we can chat about it. Looks like Antonis asked, what was my favorite maze or haunted house? Mine was La Llorona, but I did miss a couple. So we're going to walk through all of the houses I went through. I'll show you photos from all of them. We'll talk through my experience, but I'm really excited. It was a really cool time. So anyway, before I even enter the park, I just want to make sure that you guys know there is a code of conduct going into this event that is very different than a regular day at the park. For example, I can give Shrek a hug during my day at the park, but I cannot touch any live performers during the event. It is for their safety, and I think this is great. There's a lot of incidents of people punching performers and doing terrible things. I'm glad that Universal has policies in place, so if anything should happen, both the performers and the guests around any potential act outs, they feel safe. So I am fully aware. I'm wearing a Disneyland shirt right now talking about Universal, but I'll wear more Universal stuff, and my photos that you'll see from this event throughout this video were all Universal stuff. Okay, so once I got in the park, I think I got in about 4 p.m. and I didn't start lining up for my first house until about 5. So I was like, what is a spooky attraction? I thought the spookiest attraction in the park is by far Secret Life of Pets Off the Leash. Okay, I'm kidding, but I did do Secret Life Pets Off the Leash. There are actually some scary moments in it. I'll talk about that in my full video where I walk through things. But then I went down to the lower lot, and behind Studio Cafes where you can line up for those houses. And I lined up for the weekend. I thought that was going to be the longest line of the night. And for the most part, at least in the first half of the night, I was right. So that was a good thing to line up for. I got some food at Jurassic Cafe first, and then I lined up at the weekend, probably around 5:15. And then they got us up and they started loading us back around, I think, 5:45. We started getting in line. Around this time, I started making friends with the people around me. So the people behind me said they've been coming to Horror Nights for years, so that made me feel a little bit better. And then I went live. I did a live stream for you guys because I wanted my first experience inside the house to be with you guys. So you can see my phone right there and my gimbal. that was the live stream that you guys might have saw if you were watching that live. But this is kind of the behind the scenes, my nervous looking face inside or before going on to the weekend. And then I did go in and I was pleasantly surprised. That was a very, very fun house for me. I enjoyed, really, really enjoyed all of it. It was just great. Um, I was very scared at first going into it, but then it was fine. And I did do it twice that night. So I'll talk about the differences between both times I did it. But the first time I did it, um, the scariest thing for me was not the people jumping out and scaring me and running at me with things. It was when I was in rooms and there was kind of dummies of Abel, who's the Weekend, or different nightmarish characters, and I didn't know which one of them was real and which one was a dummy. So those, to me, that was scary, because it's the anticipation of it. And I think that's what makes this event so scary to a lot of people, is you don't know when you're going to be scared. But if you can look at trends, and we'll talk about this as I go through the different mazes, there are definitely ways to make this less scary. So one thing I did, starting with this house, and I did it through every single house I did, is I wore earplugs. A lot of what makes these houses scary is the audio cues that accompany the visual scares. So wearing earplugs, for me, it was a little bit less scary. I'd recommend it for you if this is your first time doing it. Now, I am going 2 more times to Halloween Horror Nights, including this coming week, where I'll be going in a much larger group. But for these first houses, because my friend hadn't come in yet, I was doing these completely alone. And I enjoyed it. It was very fun. Okay, so after the weekend, I did my live stream there. I'm just going to get a quick sip of water here. After doing the weekend, which I loved, I had a great time doing, I went and did Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So that to me was a very big difference from the weekend, because Killer Clowns from Outer Space wasn't, at least to me, wasn't made to be scary. Like the goriness of some of the stuff from the weekend. Remember, this is the weekend. This is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Do you see the difference? And you'll see in the video when I haven't started editing it, but once I edit that, and you can look at POVs of the maze online, or of the house online, sorry, and it's very whimsical. It's very goofy. And a lot of the clowns are just standing there. They don't really like jump out at you. Now, there are a couple things that do jump out, but this was a lot more fun. And it wasn't, maybe I was just going earlier in the night and it wasn't as, the performers weren't warmed up yet. I was going within 5 minutes of the event starting, but it was a fun house. I enjoyed it. But moving on from the weekend, I went to Universal Monsters Legends Collide. That's my friend right in front of me. And this was the first house that I did in front of me, or that I did with a friend. And I was really hoping for this one to be great. I really was. I thought that this was going to be my favorite house, just based on the fact that it was the first announced one. There was so much that I expected from it, and it ended up being my least favorite house. Now, this could just be because I went through it earlier, and it did have good production design, but there was also a lot of like black hallways with nothing there. The weekend, as contrast, really didn't have that. It was just nonstop perfect theming the entire way through. Universal Monsters just had there were like missing bits of theming and missing performers. There were like entire scenes you walk through where there was just no scares. And maybe, again, completely could be that we did it earlier in the night. Maybe we should have done it later and it would have been better, but it was a 5-minute wait. But both my friend and I agreed at the end of the night that this was our least favorite house, just because we were just missing a lot of those scares. And as a self-proclaimed scaredy cat, I didn't think that I would walk out of something being like, oh, that wasn't scary, it wasn't good. But at this point, having just done the weekend in Killer Clowns, which were great houses, this one really wasn't it for me. But I will, again, I film my reaction going through the entire house, so you'll see that in the full video whenever that comes out. So after Universal Monsters Legends Collide, we went to the Weekend Bar, and I didn't get a drink. My friend did, but this is right above Jurassic Cafe over in the lower lot. And instead of getting a drink, I got pizza fries because they were available for the first time at Universal Studios Hollywood. This has been an item that's been available at Universal Studios in Florida for a very long time. So I was really excited to try it. And I don't know. It wasn't it for me. It was a little soggy. I maybe would have loved it to be a little bit better cooked, and maybe that's my fault for not asking for it to be cooked a little more. Um, but I think it was also because it was hyped up so much that I was just a little disappointed. But it was fine. One thing that did really excite me is as soon as we were done there, we went to the upper lot. There's a lot of us going up and down. We'll talk about that in a bit. But as soon as we went up, the first scare zone I wanted to check out was the one that I had been following in all my construction updates, and that was the Haunted Forest. Oh, there we go. The Haunted Forest. These costumed characters were incredible. Look at the prosthetics on this face. I can't tell what's real. I can't tell what's makeup. I can't. I mean, there were these giant tree characters, and they were just awesome. I love these. I don't think there was one scare zone that we went to where we were like, this missed the mark. All of the scare zones were just incredible. I loved them all. Yeah, they were great. Anyway, after that, we got in line for La Llorona, and that line, both that line and the Universal Horror Hotel are down Pet's Place. So ours went down Pet's Place from about where the former Walking Dead attraction is next to the Cinnabon, went towards Despicable Me, went through Despicable Me, and then came out and went towards the house. And I mean, this photo says it all, really. It does. This house was incredible. This was our favorite house, without a doubt, the entire night. The theming in this house, the scares in this house, the characters in this house, everything was just absolutely incredible. It had a story, like we could immediately tell what the story was. I could not tell you, even after doing the weekend, we ended up doing it twice, but after watching it, I can't tell you what the story of that is. But I could tell you within 5 seconds, not 5 seconds, within like 30 seconds of walking into La Llorona, I could tell you what that was. And that was a fantastic house. Again, a lot of great scares, a lot of good animatronics too in that one. So that was our favorite house of the night. That was very fun. After that, we went into El Pueblo del Terror Scare Zone, which is takes over the Parisian streets in the park. And here's my friend and I. This was really fun. We got a lot of these scare actors to take photos with us. So this is the, oh shoot, I'm going to forget the name of this character, but he has a horse that's right outside the exit. There was a big stilt walking character. There were a couple of stilt walking characters in the park. There's one here, and then there were two. One was in Sideshow Slaughterhouse, and one kind of roamed the upper lot. I think I have a photo of one of the other stilt walking characters coming up. So that was a fun stilt walking character. And then here's me. This is a great photo because this is me mid scare. And you can see my earplugs in. And oh, I didn't even mention my shirt. I was wearing Boo from the Super Nintendo World Japan merchandise. So I thought that was a great Halloween Horror Nights-esque shirt. It wasn't fully horror. I think this week I'm going to try and do like a Haunted Mansion shirt. Again, Disney, whatever. I am going with a lot of Disney friends, so that might be why it's slightly more appropriate to wear that. But anyway, great scare zone. We were on a high from going through scare zones. We were like, let's do some more scare zones. So the next one we did was Sideshow Slaughterhouse. And all of these photos that you're seeing are not photos. They're screenshots from videos. So if you think these look cool, wait till you see the full video. This was incredible. We loved this. The characters were great. This was a stilt walking character. And you can see Starbucks behind him. He was tall. And he jumped out and like lurched at you. And he did move slower than the other characters, but just his height was scary. It was very neat. There were some other characters as well. This was right next to Universal Central Plaza. And they all had different facial deformities. And there's like a bearded woman. It was very like clown themed. And this was a cool one. I also loved the fire that was above. And I know this is a yearly thing they do at Universal Studios Hollywood, but I was very excited to see the fire effects. I just thought that was so cool. Yeah, that was and it was going the whole night too, and I could see it all the way over by Despicable Me. So the fire effects were awesome. After that, we went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where we did the Death Eaters Scare Zone. It was pretty short, but great theming. And part of me wondered why they don't do this every night, because it wasn't scary. It was just a very cool character interaction. If you are scared of Horror Nights stuff, you could easily do this. It was fun. It was enjoyable. I liked it. And they did do the Dark Arts show on the Wizarding World or on the Hogwarts Castle. We didn't see it, but they did have the projections up all night. You can see snow on the rocks here, and I just love the way they lit it. So they lit it with green backlight. So if you look at Hogwarts Castle in my last live stream from the park, I saw it from the back. The entire thing looks green because the entire back of it is lit up green, but it gives it this like eerie glow and kind of lights up the sky around it. And then I don't know if you can see in these trees, there's some twinkling lights. That's usually up during holiday time, but it looked beautiful. It was very cool. So we were thinking, we just did all these scare zones. We have to do a house. And my friend said, the two that I really want to do are The Weekend and Killer Clowns. And I said, well, I did both. Which one would I rather do again? The Weekend. So we did The Weekend, and the second time around was so much better. The performers had more energy. We got so many more scares. And the people behind us in the house were like terrified. So they were screaming, which only put us more on edge. That was really fun. And that was just so cool. I loved it. And one thing that I noticed this time around too was that it squirted you with water. There were some moments where like there was supposed to be blood squirting at you and it just squirted you with water. And I didn't have that the first time. I did have it a little bit, I think, on Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But a lot of the houses do squirt you a little with water. And I love that. It's just an extra sensory thing. And it makes the effect of the blood cooler, in my opinion. Anyway, coming back up, we did that Horror Nights standee that's been there for a couple weeks now. That's over on the Starway, and that was really cool. And the name on that standee, I don't think you can see it in this photo. No, it's right underneath the scene title. It says director is Harold Kopowitz, which I didn't know who that was. I knew that he had some backstory with Halloween Horror Nights, but he is the identity of Halloween Harry, who is the de facto host of the Terror Tram. So that's where we went next. We went to the Terror Tram, and it loads up in the same spot. It said it was a 40-minute wait, so I was really nervous. Guess what? It was under 10 minutes. It was nonstop moving. They loaded us, and then instead of going down the hill, kind of behind Jurassic World, we made a left right before the Simpsons ride and hooked around the top underneath the for Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, went to the left side of Fast and Furious Supercharge, almost like the same route you would come up, and then past Fast and Furious Supercharge, and then we were there. We just got off, and Halloween Harry was waiting for us. I have all of this on video. It's a really cool video. And by the way, I'm talking. Please comment down below, guys. Let me know, like, if you have questions about Horror Nights, if you have suggestions. I am going back this week. I can display them up on the screen. So let me know if you do have questions here. Let me put down that thing. So now send a question down below. Do that. So we did the Terror Tram, and the way it's laid out is the first half of it is Bates Motel Psycho House. So outside the Bates Motel, there's a bunch of gory residents and stuff like that. Oh, look, you can see my hand down here. Didn't even realize that the photo doesn't quite crop right. Oops. You can see a lot of fun characters, and a lot of them had a lot of fun with me in this. They were running at me. That was very fun. And then after that, you go up to the Psycho House, and it's lit beautifully. It's just, the lighting is great. I wish they did this every night, really. And Norman Bates was standing right outside. And of course, we had to get a photo. And he just looks like he's going to stand there innocently. And then you get the photo, and he has his knife out, and he's charging at you. And that was really fun. We really enjoyed that. And then you go through the War of the Worlds set, which is so insane to go through at night. And believe it or not, the scares in that War of the Worlds set were terrifying, because they're not just like popping through the walls, but they're climbing over the walls to scare you. They're doing like crazy things. Seriously. That was very, very, very fun. So then we did that. Then we go into Jupiter's Claim, which is very cool. That's a set from us, or set from Nope. There were characters from us, and that was very fun. getting to go through that. I didn't really find that as scary, but it was just neat getting to see it at night and getting to walk through it. Something that some people did get to walk through during the media preview, but I just very much enjoyed getting to walk through in general. And then you hop right back on the tram right at the end of Jupiter's Claim, and then you skip Fast and Furious. You actually go around the north side of it. I got it all on video, so I'll release that as well. And then you exit at the tram unload. And right at the tram unload, they replace the Hollywood sign photo op with this one. And I don't even know if that is it Hollywood Harry or Halloween Harry. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think it's Halloween Harry. I'm not sure. Oh, looks like we do have a comment. I'm doing perfect at explain. Thank you. I appreciate it. But if you do have questions, please put it down below, really. So after that, we were thinking like, we need to do something cool. But every single house that we had left to do, we had 3 houses left. We had Jabbawockeez, we had Universal Horror Hotel, and we had Freaky and the Black Phone. Oh, and you know what? I think we had already done the Horror Hotel, but I just forgot to put in the photo on here. Anyway, so I'll just say now, we had done Universal Horror Hotel a little earlier. That is the one that took place in the former Walking Dead attraction. And that was really interesting because it was a great house. We did get some good scares. The music was very creepy and ominous and creepy piano music. It had a really cool backstory with some nice nods to Carl Lumley, who founded Universal, and some other things in Hollywood history. But the Walking Dead attraction, that building is so tall, and they didn't use half of that height. So if they do use this in the future, I would like to see them use a little bit more of the height of the building, because that's what makes it so scary. Oh, it looks like we do have another comment here. With my Platinum Pass, did I use my general free admission? If in the park already, do I have to re-enter back at the gate for them to scan your Platinum Pass? Great question. So I did use that for my free entry. For my next 2, I will be paying for it. So I think this Thursday it's $62, I think. With my pass discount, you do get, I think, a 15 or 30% off or something to enter. So that was pretty great. So what I did was around 4, there were like 3 different ways to enter the park. The entire right side of the entry was just reserved for people going into Halloween Horror Nights. So that hadn't opened yet. They had all the gates closed, and people were just waiting until 6 when they could be let in for the 7 o'clock start of the event. And then on the left side, there was one entrance for just people going in for the day. And then there was another one, which was day/night. So those are people who either have an annual pass to go in or paid for early entry. So I had an annual pass, so I went through there. I just went in the regular way, and then they gave out wristbands. And there were 2 types of wristbands. There was one that you got just for park admission, and then there was one at the after hours bar in the lower lot to say you're over 21. So another question is this your 12th year at Horror Nights? I've been going since 2010. I love it. Well, I will definitely be coming back, hopefully every year, and I'm going to be going back twice this year. I'm very excited about that. So anyway, continuing on with the tour. So yeah, Horror Hotel was great. After Terror Tram, we did Jabbawockeez. So Jabbawockeez, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know if it was scary, if it was just dancing, and it was just dancing. But they did some things that I have never seen in my life. And I'm in the video field for my day job, and the lighting was just insane. I don't know if you can see on the top here, this guy, there were moments where it looked like he was holding lasers, and then he was bending lasers. I couldn't find the screenshot from the video that described it so well, but it was something like the way it was done, the precision of how that I appreciated the heck out of it. It was very, very, very cool. And if you do have time, do that. So at this point in the night, all the lines were 2 hours. I think, yes, Scarecrow the Reaping was just over 2 hours. Halloween was maybe 90 minutes. And then Blumhouse was, I think, 40 or 45. So we had a choice. It was about we went to the 1:15 show of Jabbawockeez, got out, or no, we went to the 12:40. I'm getting my times mixed up. I don't remember. We went to some show late at night to go see Jabbawockeez. It was a very late night, and the fact that it was 2 days ago, so it's just it's kind of all jumbled. It was all late at night. My feet were hurting. This is another thing. I've been to theme parks where I've been going through for 16 hours straight. This was 8 hours, but my feet definitely got blisters from this. And I couldn't explain like why it is. I was walking the same amount I would on a normal day in the park, but I think what it is you don't have relief. If I'm walking and I'm going on Jurassic World the ride, I then have 7 minutes to sit down and give my feet a break. But here, I'm standing in line. When we did the weekend a second time, my friend and I, we waited 50 minutes for it. And then you're done, and then you're going through a 3-minute house. So it's a very long experience, and it's a lot of standing. And other than Jabbawockeez, we were standing straight for 8 hours. And I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I stand 8 hours for my job. I've had that too, and this is not that. There is it's something else. It really is. So it's just a lot. So anyway, after Jabbawockeez, we had those 3 houses that we still hadn't done, and we ended up doing Horrors of Blumhouse, which was over in the Waterworld queue, Freaky the Black Phone. And this one had good scares, but the theming was incredibly weak. There were some rooms that were pretty well themed. It looked like actual rooms, and you can see them here. It just looked like a house. Now, I didn't know anything about the movies, so I don't know what they were supposed to look like, really anything like that. But then there were other things where it was just in like a completely black room, and there was a black square in the wall, and I'm like, oh, well, somebody's absolutely going to be popping out here. And that's what happened. It was just and that kind of goes into like the predictability of the event. If you're scared of something, there are a lot of patterns that you can look at. So the first is in a house, if there is ever a curtain that takes up half the height of the wall and there's a square cutout, you know somebody's going to pull that curtain back and scare you. That's a trend. If you know you're in a room and there's a lot of characters that all look the same, some of them are going to be real people and they will scare you, and some of them won't be. If you are in a scare zone and you're walking through and you're smiling and you're laughing, scare actors aren't going to come and look at you. But if you are running through the scare zone and you are whimpering and you're cowering and you're scared, they will seek you out and they will chase you. That's how Horror Nights works. And it took me a little while to get that trend, but maybe that's how I was able to be less scared. So going through scare zones, I was kind of looking for them at some point to scare me and my friends. So I actually, and I have this all on video, I'll show you guys at some point. I told my friend, I was like, can you just act scared? And we went back and forth through a scare zone of him like whimpering and crying to himself just to get somebody to scare us. And it worked. And that's how we knew that our theory was right. So anyway, going back to Freaky Black Phone, it was very predictable. And it was a very short house. But there were a lot of good scares. I'll say there's one scare in particular, which was almost a dual scare. There were 2 characters that came out at once. And it was from the movie Freaky. And one of them comes out with, I think, an axe, and the other comes out with a chainsaw, and they kind of run at you. And that was a great scare for me. I'm trying to think of some of the other good scares. By the way, if you have any questions about Horror Nights, or you want to know anything, or you just want to say hi, or you want to know what I'm going next, or any Universal, even non-Horror Nights advice, please put it down below, because I'd love to be able to chat with you, because otherwise I'm just talking to myself, and that's boring. But yeah, it was a great event. I'm very upset with myself for not going often, for not even going before. And to me, the anxiety came, and the scaredness, the timidness, the fear was not in the event itself. It was going to the event. So let's see. I have another comment. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And you're going back, knowing what you know now after your first time. Which houses will you hit first on your second time? And what will you do different? That is a great question. So for me, it might be different than other people. I still would stand by the fact that if this is your first time, you're only going for one night. The strategy is absolutely what everyone says, which is start in the lower lot, head up. Do Weekend Killer Clowns Monsters. I did all three of those in an hour. Um, you wouldn't be able to do one of those in an hour, 2 or 3 hours into the night. The busy part is 8 till 11:30 is like the busiest part of the event. But going on Thursday, what I want to do is, because I am going with people who have been to the event before, I'd rather just start with the houses I have not done, which are Halloween and Scarecrow the Reaping. And I have heard incredible reviews of Scarecrow the Reaping, and I'm really upset with myself for not getting to do that one last time. We just really ran out of time, and we were getting tired, and I had to travel the next day, so it didn't end up working. We both had jobs, so I would probably Thursday. I'd like to start with Scarecrow because I hear that is the scariest one. John Murdy had a great tweet today. I think it was either today or yesterday, where somebody said Scarecrow the Reaping was on another level, and this was incredible. And John said, yeah, it's the cast that did it. As soon as we cast it and I met them, I knew we had something special. So that was just hyping me up. I was so excited. So to answer your question, long story short, what I would like to do next is start with Scarecrow the Reaping and then do Halloween. I'd like to do those first. And then maybe if I'm staying on the upper lot, hit La Llorona again. That was such a great house. I also kind of missed Clown Saws. I did get to interact with them a little bit, but I'd like to spend a little bit more time in that scare zone. There's no decorations for that scare zone. It takes place from the front gates to the entrance of Sideshow Slaughterhouse, which is kind of next to the Starbucks and Animation Studio store. So it's a pretty decent size scare zone, but it's just people running around. There's no decorations for it. So I would like to do that. I think that would be fun. Good question. If you guys have questions, again, please put them down below about Horror Nights, about what it's like to go for the first time, anything like that. I'd love to be able to answer questions or talk about my experience or anything. Looks like we have another one, which is, during the live, were you so happy and saying hi to the monsters? Was that a way to cope with the fear? Do you have anxiety walking around the scare zones? Great question. Maybe. I don't know if I have anxiety. I mean, it's definitely scary. I do have fear. I'm not going to try and hide that. But I was, yeah, absolutely. I was going through the houses and I was saying like, hey, when I saw The Weekend in the Weekend house, and it was just like me, The Weekend, and my friend in a room, and it was just the three of us. I was like, you're the best. You're great. I love you. And that was just that was fun. So maybe it is just me trying to be scared or trying to cower back, or that's a coping mechanism. I'm not sure how you'd read into that, but yeah, possibly, absolutely possible. Did I have anxiety walking around the scare zones? No, the scare zones to me were a lot easier to walk around than the houses because you can see everything. So you can avoid things, you can walk towards things. I think the tightest scare zone in terms of number of people was Sideshow Slaughterhouse. But the one where there was the most scare actors, at least for me, based on the number of people, was the El Pueblo del Terror, which was outside of La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. So again, I don't know which one was my favorite. If I had to, I would probably say La Llorona, just because I thought the characters were more unique, and they interacted with me, and I took selfies. I want to see if I have that photo again, because that was just such a fun. Here's a photo from that scare zone. Oh, let me turn off the comment for a sec. Here's a photo. Here's a photo. And 1, 2, 3. We had a lot of fun in that scare zone. So again, guys, if you have questions, please put them down below. I want to make this a conversation. Have I ever been to a haunted theme park event before Horror Nights? Nope. This was my first time. And this is going to be a year of first for me. I don't really know what to expect because I am going 2 more times to Horror Nights. I'm going once next week with a big group. Some of them are my friends. Some of them are friends of friends. And I don't know if we're going to stick together the whole time, if we're going to break into parts. I don't know what the strategy is, but the advertisement for Horror Nights is never go alone. I don't think it's because you're going to be scared alone. I think you're the same amount of scared whether you're with friends or not. It's because this is very much a shared experience, not like the scares scare two people at once. If it's scaring the person in front of you, it's mainly going to scare that person in front of you. But this is something you want to talk with a friend after. Like that helped me clarify how I was feeling. Like as soon as I left Universal Monsters, and in my head, I was thinking, well, that really wasn't that great. I just spoke to my friend. I was like, hey, what did you think? And it's like, I didn't really like that. And we were able to talk back and forth, and it kind of justified our feelings. And we did feel, for the most part, I think we had a similar list. I think I rated La Llorona as my number one, and then the studio tour as my number two. He rated The Weekend as his number one, and then this La Llorona as his number two. But our top three was the same, with The Weekend, La Llorona, and the studio tour. So you had me laughing when you'd say, you're the best. I'm going to try that and channel your vibe so you're not that scared. I cannot promise whether or not that will make you scared or make you less scared. That was just my way of like, I wasn't gonna curse. I was readying myself to, because usually when I'm scared, I say, oh, and I curse. But I think if you watch my live from that, before I go into The Weekend for the first time, I say right beforehand, I apologize for any profanity I'm about to share. And then there just was none. So I just got in a habit of saying to people like, oh, I love you, or you're the best. And I think some of the scare actors kind of got a kick out of it and were maybe more willing to take photos with me. And I have a lot more photos from the event than just the stuff I showed tonight, or today. I don't even know what time it is. It's 2 p.m. here on the East Coast. So there was a lot more that I didn't share just because it was either me and my friend, or it just wasn't as good. But one of my favorite moments was right as we left the Hollywood Harry drop-off for the terror tram, and before we got to the Bates Motel, there's a section of chain link fence right outside the production cars, and there were some characters that are dressed up as hounds, and they kind of bang against the fence. And there was a moment, just because I had to fix my gimbal or tie my shoe or something, where we were stopped there for a little while, and it was just me, my friend, and then there was one scare actor that was right in front of us. And I just asked him flat out. I was like, can I take a photo with you? And he was dressed as a dog, so it was like, "Meow," which I took as a yes. I don't know if he meant by that, but sure. And I could see there were security guards everywhere, and I'll talk about that if you want. But there was a guy behind. I was like, is this okay? And he said yes. So I just went. I took a selfie with the guy. And that also helps me get through it easier. And it's not a scary experience. There were scary moments, but it's not a scary experience. And I think it's different between a movie and a Horror Nights, because in Horror Nights, it's not like a ramp up to the scare where it's, you're waiting 10 minutes in a haunted house and something might pop out and you don't know what it's going to be. Horror Nights is just scare, scare, scare. That's it. There's no buildup. It just happens and then it's done. You move to the next one. So I think that makes it de facto less scary, and that's a great thing. Another comment. I want to do the terror tram in the day and night to get a different experience. I think it's so cool that we get to walk by the plane crash area, which is my favorite part of the studio tour. Yeah, I'll keep that up there. I have walked around it during the day back when I used to work on the backlot of Universal, and there's actually this has been taken photos of, so it's not a secret, but there are picnic tables back behind the War of the World set where you can go and have lunch. So I loved getting to do that when I worked, and I got to see people drive by, and that was really fun. But at night, it is a different experience. And walking through it at night with all of the fog. Oh, that's another thing. This event has fog. Fog like you have never seen before in your life. There are moments where I could not see 2 feet in front of me. And that is not just in the houses. There were the scare zones had so much fog. I was chatting with my friend. I just wanted to know what their fog budget was for this. There was not one experience that didn't have like multi-sensory experience. Okay, there's my ADD there, trailing off talking about fog. But anyway, yes, at night it was incredible. It was so cool. Highly recommend doing the Terror Tram. I don't know if I want to do it during the day. Um, I don't know if I'd really want to do any house or any scare zone during the day. Maybe you could do that if you are scared of things, just to acquaint yourself with it. But um, I would say that it would maybe ruin the experience. There was one moment in Killer Clowns where there's a character, and I think I have it on video, where it's like a clown is puppeteering a man, and the clown is just a dummy, and the man is a real person. And he has an exit that's right behind him to go backstage. And the exit, the door was wide open. So that scene was really, really bright. So I wasn't scared at all during that scene. It wasn't terrifying. I didn't know how I felt. So, um, yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do it at all during the day. That is a great comment because doing this during the day versus doing it at night is different. You need to be fully prepared to last until 2 a.m. You really do, because it is a long event. There is a possibility that you could do everything in one night, but I don't think you could experience everything in one night. And the difference is, like, yes, you could check off, I did every single house, I did every single scare zone, and I did every single show. There are 2 shows, like 3.5 scare zones, with the Haunted Forest being a half, and then 8 houses. So you could, and then studio tour. You could theoretically check them all off in one night. But there was just so much more to see and to do, whether it's going to the after hours bar, getting the exclusive items. I didn't even mention there were NFTs. You could get an NFT at every house, and there was an AR game that you could play, and the lines for things. That was a Universal Monsters AR game that they also do have in Orlando. I know, because the app glitched on me and it said I was in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Diagon Alley for a second. But there are so many things that you can do that there is no way you could do everything in one night. And there's also event exclusive merchandise. 99% of it's being sold during the day, but then they have like headbands, different things, and drinks that are only served at night. So there is a lot, too much to experience. So you don't think we'd be able to see the plane crash in more detail during the day? Yes, fine. Yes, you could see the plane crash in more detail, but I don't think that's the point of going through it. Because if that's the case, you could see the plane crash in more detail going through the studio tour, really, because you drive right by it. You get a big, wide view of the whole crash. But getting to walk through it at night is just different. And you don't want to see the detail. You want to see the scare actors. You want to see the Horror Nights setups. There were guys with baseball bats swing at you. There were people dressed up as cats. There were clowns. There were so many cool things that you want to see them at night. So, yeah, very cool experience. I had a fantastic time at Halloween Horror Nights. I really did. I enjoyed myself. I had a great time, and I'm sorry I haven't started editing the video yet, but I will have to, because I'm going again on Thursday, and maybe that'll turn into a video. I don't know yet. I'll be with a big group, but in the meantime, there's a lot more videos coming out this week. Don't worry. I had a SeaWorld video coming out this morning. I might be going to, oh, that's the other thing. Yeah, so I'm going to Halloween Horror Nights twice this month, and then I'm going to Knott's Scary Farm for the first time, which makes me nervous, because I heard that is a whole different beast. It is way scarier. So we'll see. I don't know. Oh, it looks like we have some more comments. I see a hello. I see a cool. And I said, hope you are doing well. Would you and your friends spend the night at a real haunted house on Halloween night? No, absolutely not. No, it's because I have other Halloween traditions that I like to do. I like to decorate and do fun things there. But it depends. I guess we would have to see. But thank you guys so much for joining me for this first one. If this ends up doing well, if you guys want more of these types of videos where we can just chat and have a conversation about things, and I can show you photos from things, or maybe this could be a construction series, I don't know. Let's sit down. Let's talk USH. Let's have this conversation. That's what makes it fun. It's not me just lecturing and showing you construction, but us actually having conversations. I love getting to do live rooms in the park, but getting to actually sit down and talk with you rather than just running to do different things is also a valuable thing. So if you guys are interested, I'd love to do more. Which house had the weakest scare in your opinion? I would say the weakest houses, in my opinion, would be a tie between um, Horrors of Blumhouse and Universal Monsters. So, good question. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.